so we're going to move on and talk about the NAACP Image Awards. Before we start off that, I want to say something, and me and Lale talked about this. All right, she looked a little nervous. And that's okay, because probably what I'm going to say should make her nervous. We took all the time, our very first show, all that time talking about the Oscars. Shame on us. Shame on us. Because we did not put any time at all into talking about the NAACP Image Awards, which is our Oscars and our Grammys in its own right. The NAACP Image Awards was created for that purpose because black entertainers was not given their due diligence. So you know what? If when people don't want to do right, what they say, you want something done, do it yourself. And that's kind of what happened with NAACP Image Awards. And we should have done. We need to do better. We talked about this, and we're going to do better. And not just talk about what's wrong, but also let's talk about what's right, because what's right is these Image Awards. The fact that it was created by the black community, by black folks, for black folks, to empower us, to encourage us, and to move forward. And it needs to be praised just as much as the Oscars is being praised. Because if not, what's the point of even having it? What do you think about that, Lala?
I think so. We're very guilty of doing what a lot of people do, and we'll talk about more about this later on. But we are guilty of placing one award show or one organization or something higher than something else because the majority does. Right. And these awards weren't created for the majority. They were for us. So the fact that, again, this is not self-righteous because we are guilty of it too. Again, we place less value on things because they were created and made for and by black people. And so I have to check myself for what we did. Now we did put effort into talking, doing the research and talking about this, but not near as much effort as he said as we did into the Oscars, because we went into nominations and predictions, and we did like a follow-up to see who won and talked about acceptance speeches and everything. And
we should have done the same here.
We should have done the same.
We should have the same amount of energy. So we're just saying that just as not just holding ourselves accountable, but also saying, hey guys, we have things out there. We need to support it, and because it's for us. What's the point of it existing for us if you're not going to support it?
I mean, if you go to these awards and you win them, and again, we'll talk about this later. But if you go, you should have the same amount of pride and joy in winning these awards as you would in winning an Oscar or a Grammy.
Absolutely.
But let's start with a little bit of history.
Right.
You go ahead.
You want me? Okay. The Image Awards was first presented on August 13th, 1967. That was 52 years ago. We talked about that. We talked about the 50-year range as far as what was it, the right to vote.
The right to vote.
2 years after that. So the presidents, the closely associated for its time, as far as rights, as far as acceptance and trying to create a platform for ourselves. I mean, and the Image Awards was that thing. Now, I have to say I remember in the 90s. We grew up in the 90s, but in the 90s, the Image Awards, Soul Train Awards was big. Yeah. Was big. And I remember watching it every year. And as an adult, and I think about it, I have slowly but surely kind of just, but has nothing to do with Oscar. That's just me kind of just, my mind being someplace else.
And to be fair, the only time I watched the Oscars this time around is because we talked about it. Right. So. Right, true. Yeah. True.
So, that history alone, it just kind of gives you the reason of why the Image Awards was even, created and around about the time of why it was created, Yeah. What's the first thing you want to talk about?
So let's get into some of the things that happened during the award show. First, Rihanna, Miss Robin, Rihanna Fenty. Yes, ma'am. She got an award for philanthropy at the NAACP Awards. I'm a Rihanna fan. Face by Fenty. Yes, I've got her makeup on. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a Rihanna fan too. Hi, Rihanna.
Anyway, she gave a great speech about, allyship. She talked about how if you have friends that work with you and they're friends with you, they come to you with events and ideas, and they break bread with you, and things are going on that concern you, and you're going out to march and you're speaking up against different things such as racism and sexism and ageism and
all the
homophobia, transphobia, any of those things. If you are friends with someone who is experiencing that, then you need to pull up. And that's really what it is. She did not tell one lie, because I know I have friends that, are of different races, and I know that some of them will pull up, and they will pull up with vengeance.
Right.
So when you have people around you, especially when you get into the workplace, I think we live in the South, so allyship in the South is different, because we're actually living in the places where a lot of the stuff goes on. Not to say that it doesn't happen up north, because it definitely does, or out west, because it definitely does.
Right.
This is kind of like the birthplace of it all. And it's important to have friends. If people are truly your friends and something has affected you in a certain way, then you need to be pulling up. Yeah. Period. And that's what Rihanna was saying, and she was absolutely right. Yes, ma'am. We're birthday twins, so we were already here.
Well,
so.
I mean, it's I think this is the time and the age. I mean, the new decade of change. Like I said before, the time for talking is over, man. Like, it's great to be vocal about what's wrong and what's going on, but the only way things change is, one, we change ourselves, and then we put forth the effort to change them and hold each other accountable. That right there, what she did along with Joaquin Phoenix, it is the scream of accountability. He holding his folks accountable, and she telling us we need to hold ourselves accountable, because
not only ourselves but our friends
absolutely.
from different backgrounds. Everybody needs to be held accountable.
Exactly, because I mean, this all forms of discrimination, all forms of just discouragement. It's enough of it, man. We need to start, uplifting each other. I'm finna digress real quick, man. Deontay Wilder, man. He lost. Okay, he lost the fight, and he gave an excuse of why, and we can all talk about why he lost or whatever. He lost. Okay, but what really matters is what he did after the loss. I mean, like I said, I used to compete. As a boxer and as a martial artist, and I've lost and I've won, and I know what it's like on both ends of that. But what matters is what you do after the fact. But what I really want to make the point of is, and Snoop said something about this, is like, why black folk always have to, like, when someone down, like, why do you have to be the one to pick up the rock and just drop it on top of their head while they down? Why? I mean, yeah, we got the man lost. Okay, yeah, you make your funny memes. Okay, he, ha, ha. All right. That's enough. It's enough. Like, this man goes in the ring and does something that I'm trying to keep myself under.
So let's just move on to the next topic. I mean,
I was about to say something really disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I agree. And, especially now, we need to be finding more and more ways to uplift each other instead of putting each other down. I know sometimes it's good for a laugh. Everything's funny. people want to be comedians on the internet and, have a good little kiki or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're a community and we're a family, and we need to support each other.
For real.
All right, so getting back on track, because we kind of went to the left.
My bad.
To the left.
Sorry.
We went off the rails, but it was all good. All good stuff.
Just pull me back. I told you it was going to happen.
Yeah, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So that's the fun of watching this show. We're going to talk about all different kinds of things. Yeah. But getting back to the NAACP Image Awards, right. Tracee Ellis Ross gave a wonderful speech about women leaving legacies.
Tell me about that. Now, I missed this one.
Now, we just talked about two wonderful women, B. Smith and Mrs. Katherine Johnson, who left legacies behind. They were women that did wonderful things in the world, and they were the first to do them. And so Tracee Ellis Ross just talked about the fact that, women, are often seen as people who can't leave legacies, and the only way we can leave legacies is through our children, and specifically our sons. And we can't have a legacy unless we have a family or a husband or things like that. But as we just talked about, there are plenty of ways for women to leave legacies without it having to be attached to a family or a husband or a son. And I thought that was a remarkable speech, because she comes from a family that has left a legacy. Her mom is freaking Diana Ross. I mean, you can't be any more of a legacy than that.
Right.
And so I took to this speech because, I'm thinking about my own legacy and what legacy that I'm going to leave the world and leave my family and my kid and, and all the future generations that are coming behind me. So I just applaud her for making that speech and for uplifting other women that are in the industry with her. She named several people. She named Angela Bassett and Kerry Washington, and, her co-stars on the show Blackish, Marcia Martin and Yara Shahidi. She just uplifted people, that were in the industry with her that have done some amazing and wonderful things. And, I appreciate her speech and her saying those things. I think it was a very important speech to make, especially to our community. Because I know if any of you all have mothers and grandmothers and you know the impact that those women have had in your lives and the legacy that they've left behind, you will agree with her.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing. I mean, men always talk about leaving legacies, and it's not often talked about, women leaving legacies, and it's a beautiful thing, because I mean, our black women, our women, period, are queens, and they should be treated as such. And like I said, Miss Katherine Johnson, she's one that I said in Dr. Dream, those two women alone are leaving legacies. Just leaving legacies that are just have changed the world and will continue to change the world. So, I'm all for, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, if you putting in the work, I'm a true believer. You putting in the work, you should be given your credit, you should be given your recognition, or as we say, given your flowers, because you earned them. I'm a true believer in hard work, and I believe that if you persevere and you continue to work hard, everything and anything that you desire can come to pass. So it's been a long time coming for women, especially black women, and it's wonderful and beautiful as a black man to see my beautiful queens on stage and speaking with such power and authority and being confident, not just in their skin, but just in, their light. Something that, not too long ago we didn't have, so all my sisters out there, y'all keep doing your thing, because not shit got you. Not shit got you. All right, so moving on. Marcia Martin. Did I say her name right? Marcia Martin
won 4 awards.
Little shorty bad.
She's like 13 or 14 years
and she
old.
was the youngest executive producer in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, I kind of want to be her.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'm old as hell and you doing better than me. What's going on?
She is a wonderful and talented young lady
absolutely.
that plays Diane on Blackish.
Yeah.
And she was most recently in the film Little, which she came up with the concept for and pitched. And people loved it, and she got the movie made.
Right.
So
It's
kudos
awesome.
to her. All 4 of those awards that she got, she definitely deserved. And I'm glad that a young black woman has been able to been uplifted the way that she has, and nurtured, and being able to be pushed forward in the industry in a way that we haven't seen before.
Right.
Because we've had a lot of child stars in the past, and they've done their thing,
And
but
they're falling off hard.
They're falling off hard, and some of it is kind of sad to see. Like Raven Simone is actually doing okay, but her co-star Orlando Brown is not doing so well.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, I get emotional because I feel so bad for him.
It is really sad to see.
I mean, he needs help, and it seems like there's no one around him that's trying to help him.
Right.
I'm getting off the rails now.
That's another. He's another example of what I'm talking about. 2 different situations, but I mean, when you see people down and out, we're gonna make fun of stuff because we
That's
crack.
us. That's our culture.
That's our culture. But at some point, it needs to stop. Orlando Brown, these videos of him like giving recognition to his foolishness, like the last video, he was high as a kite, getting beat up on by some random dude that's supposed to be his friend. That's not cool, man.
Oh, and his appearance on Dr. Phil. I have my own issues with Dr. Phil as a whole, and we'll get into that later. But
talk about me. Yeah.
But he was on Dr. Phil's show and was clearly high, very high. And, Dr. Phil kept trying to ask some questions, and I was like, he is clearly in no condition at all to be answering these questions in a coherent manner.
Yeah.
You need to turn the camera off and cut it out.
Yeah.
But, okay, let me pull it back.
Well, we got
Congratulations.
We got a show coming, but congratulations, positive. We're focusing on the positive.
To Marseille.
Marseille, sweetie, good job.
Lovely girl. And she's gorgeous. Beautiful young lady.
Congratulations.
Lupita.
Right.
We talked about how the Oscars snubbed and shut out Lupita for her performance in Us. Well,
now she's getting her recognition.
She's getting her due diligence, and she deserves it.
Right.
Because if any of y'all saw the movie, whether you loved it or hated it, Lupita did her thing.
It's undeniable, man. Undeniable.
So I'm happy for her that she also won for the book that she put out.
Child's book.
The children's book.
I forgot the name of it.
Suele?
Yeah, Suele.
Yeah.
Is that like something from her language or something like that?
I think it's, I don't think it's Zosha. I think it's Swahili.
Swahili, okay.
Yeah, I believe so. But congratulations to her. I'm glad
She's been pushing that really hard and doing really well.
And I think the book is a bestseller. So congratulations to her on both fronts for being multifaceted, as we often are.
We're about to start mentioning more books now. We just had, Miss K. Rashay. We talked about her, and now we're talking about Lupita. We're about to start having
we talked about Dr. Avery and her book.
We're about to have a whole section created just for books now.
Because reading is important.
It is, and we're promoting reading, children and adults.
Yeah,
we still read.
Yeah, I have to push it in my own house, but please believe me, my child's gonna be reading books. I make him read.
Yeah, all my youngest. Y'all need to be reading books. Put your phones down and read the book.
Put the video games down, put the phones down, turn the TVs off. Oh, this weekend, my kid, I'm coming for you.
I know you're watching.
I'm coming for you.
After the show, read a book.
Anyways, moving on.
Go ahead.
Lizzo was named Entertainer of the Year.
That's right.
Now, again, whether you love Lizzo like I do, or you don't, or you're not particularly fond of Lizzo like some people are, I don't care. She deserves it.
She's earned this, man.
You hear me?
That girl has been grinding since last year, and she's still hitting it hard. So Lizzo, congratulations.
She is multi-talented,
yes.
And you know what? She's a big girl.
I mean, yeah.
And let's just put it out there, and she puts pride in it. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to look at it.
I don't think she cares, because some of the stuff she wears on that Instagram page, it kind of makes me a little nervous watching it, because I see it, I'm like, oh, she really did this. And she's doing this at the same time.
She's much braver than I would, because some of the stuff she wears, I wouldn't dare put on, because I'm not that confident. I will readily admit that.
Oh, stop it.
But anyway,
So
shut up. But anyway, Lizzo is not only a fantastic singer, a fantastic songwriter, she is an accomplished flautist. No, flautist is the correct term.
it's really flautist?
Yes, it's flautist.
I think she made that up, y'all, but okay. Flautist.
In the comments, I want y'all to let us know who's right. I know I'm right. Flautist. Anyway.
Okay, flautist. Successful flautist.
All right. Okay. Just keep going. Let me know when you're finished.
I'm
'cause
done.
We got a show to do.
You're right. We're doing the show right now. We are the show.
Anyway, Lizzo, baby girl, you deserve everything that you're getting right now.
Yes,
all the accolades, all the awards, all the praise, all the uplifting, and thank you for doing it for the big girls. I mean, I wasn't always a big girl. I kind of became a big girl after I had a baby, but she's still doing it because big girls need love too.
I like big girls.
Okay, moving on. So, in response to the NAACP Awards, we had there was a comedian that made some comments about comedians not being recognized enough by our community. I got where he was coming from. Like, he talked about how, the J.R. Nezes and the Bruces of the world don't get the credit and they put in all the work. I get what he's saying to a degree, but also I feel like that they do get, the credit. I think I've always heard people say J.R. Nez was one of the best people on Mad TV. Like, I've never not heard that. And then Bruce, I mean, people put him in their songs all the time. Like, Yin Yang Twins put him in the song and in their video. Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, some of the females, Tiffany Haddish, Monique, some more. I think all of these people get recognized frequently and often, and I guess I don't know what he's looking for. Is he looking for an award, like a physical trophy? Because I think it's widely known that we all love and appreciate comedians, especially in the Black community. So I'm kind of confused where he's coming from.
I'm with you on that. And I also looked at the different categories to see what he might have meant or whatever. But you have, they don't have great, best comedian award or anything. They don't have it. I don't think anybody out there, any award show really have it unless it's like a comedy awards or something like that. And I don't even know if that exists or doesn't exist. I have to research that and see.
I mean, maybe he was talking about Entertainer of the Year, and if this was like a shot at, who's been getting Entertainer, because I think Lizzo got it one year. I think Beyonce has received the award. I think maybe Chadwick Boseman got Entertainer of the Year one year. I mean, comedians are not the only types of entertainers, and they're not the only ones that work hard.
Well,
I understand want to be recognized, and you should be. Obviously, yes, you should be. A lot of people should be. I think, did Kevin Hart win 1 year?
I'm pretty sure Kevin Hart won.
There's a lot of animosity towards Kevin Hart in the comedian in the comedy world.
I'm glad you mentioned Kevin Hart. So this is what I have to say about that. All right, you have guys like Arnez J, Tony Baker, Kev on Stage, Rito Brown, guys that are like, no matter what level level you consider them, they're talented. They're very talented comedians in their own right. They have their niche and they do very well in those areas. Now, here's the thing. Comedians have routes, have certain routes that they go. Some of them become extremely commercialized where they get all this exposure. Like your Kevin Hart, your Tiffany Haddish, even Dave Chappelle. Like, they're commercialized to a degree. They're commercialized to death. He's censored sometimes, but they're commercialized to death. And they're still talented. They still do their comedy thing. They still do it, but they're recognized. They're like household names. The question I have is, what are you not doing? What is it? What approach are you not taking? And I'm not questioning nobody's hard work, because to go on the road, excuse me, to go on the road and to go from city to city, state to state, that's hard. Whether it's by plane, train, boat, whatever. The fact that you're traveling and you're putting on a show, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long your show is, every night, however many times out of the month, is very, very hard on your body, and it takes a toll after the years. So yes, you work very, very hard. But my thing is, what are these, quote unquote underground comedians? What are they not doing to get the exposure? Do they not have a good agent? Do they not have good managers? Are they not applying for other roles? Are they content with where they are? It's okay to speak for for comedians, but you need to be careful, in my opinion, sir. You have to be careful, what you're saying, because some guys are in the lane that they want to be in. Not everybody want to be on HBO or want to be on Showtime, showing a Showtime show, or want to be on Netflix. They're probably okay, on the chicken circuit. They might be okay with just going, being a journeyman and hitting the road and doing that. Some people get life doing that.
And then comedy has evolved, and a lot of comedians get all their shine on the internet now.
Tony Baker and Kevin Stage, when we talked about, they're internets now, social media sensations. That's what they do. That's how they became known. And now Kevin on Stage has a whole seminar he's about to give in Atlanta. Talking, basically teaching others the things that he's learned to help monetize your content. And he's even going to give awards or something to people if you can do a certain, I think it's comedians, specifically that he's looking after. If you're an internet comedian or you want to, shot a comedy and you perform and you do well enough, he's supposed to give you, I think, $1,000 or something like that. So, everybody has their route. I just disagree with the recognition thing. I think comedians get recognition, a lot of recognition. If you talk about a trophy, okay, then maybe talk to the Academy or the boards or whatever it is that you need to talk to. But comedy isn't everything that we do, especially as the Black community. Yeah. And half of the films have some sort of comedian in it nowadays, whether it's a serious role or a comedic role.
He talked about some comedy being the central force in, uplifting the spirit of the Black community. I say that's true to a degree. I would say music has a bigger role in uplifting the Black community, because music is literally what got us through slavery.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. I cannot argue. That's a very good point. Laughter,
uplifts the spirit, but I think music uplifts us as a whole, as a people. Right. And a lot of the entertainers we have are musicians. Right. So I don't... And also, you talk about uplifting comedians. I've seen several instances where within the comedian community, y'all aren't uplifting each other.
Just talk about that.
We'll talk about Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish again. Those two people have
a beautiful relationship. They do.
They uplifted each other. And at a time where Tiffany Haddish was homeless, I think a lot of y'all have heard the story. Kevin made sure she was good and helped her. Right. And I thought that story was amazing, because I don't see that a whole lot. Us other comedians lifting up other comedians, because usually it's a war or a battle to see who's the best, and sometimes it's in love, and a lot of times it isn't, because I know in the past Kevin Hart and Cat Williams have had issues. I know Dave Chappelle has had issues with some people in the past. I think Tiffany Haddish is on the show with Tracy Morgan, and he was interviewed, and the interviewers were like, how great is it to work with Tiffany Haddish? She's so cool, she's so fun. And he got mad because they didn't want to talk about anybody else that was on the show. And I was like, and then Cat Williams had some things to say about Tiffany Haddish. Right. Wanting to, shuck and jive for the white man. And I was like, y'all, well, if you love or hate Tiffany, she is still your sister, and she's your sister in comedy. Why would you downgrade her the way that you have?
And not only that, you need to really get a grip, because if you've been homeless, if you've been broke, poor, or without, and now you have an opportunity to have everything that you ever dreamed. She is well within her right to seize it in any and every way possible. And nothing that I've seen her do, yes, she's a bit annoying, but that's just her comedy style. That's just what she does. And I think she's a brilliant in her own right, because how the hell do you go into a set with veteran actresses,
Queen Latifah,
and you dominate?
Jada Pinkett Smith.
It's unheard of. It's crazy. She came in and she knew what she wanted, and she took control of her destiny. She was given an opportunity and she seized the moment, and that is what every last one of us seek to do.
And her whole career has been about seizing the moment. Yeah. So whenever you see her wilding out and she's always happy and silly and goofy and funny, it's because she realizes
she's
that
happy.
She's come so far, and she's got to a certain point, and she could not be there, and it could all go the way just like that. And so she's going to enjoy it while she
can.
And I appreciate that. And I'm not going to hate on the girl for being happy,
for loving life, for
being happy. Y'all are mad because she's happy. God. Okay, sorry.
No, at least we had our rage moments.
I want to say the same for Monique. How many of y'all actually supported Monique? Now, I have my issues with Monique.
I do too.
I think, but
she is brilliant within her own right. She's funny. She's talented. She's just a headache. She really is. I think she picks fights in places that she shouldn't pick fights. And she picked fight with people she shouldn't pick fights with. I'm just saying. I mean, because it's just ridiculous.
Some of those fights she need to pick. As we've seen, she's been right about a lot of things.
I mean, yes, some things she's right about.
Looking at you, Oprah.
I mean, bruh, don't get me started on Oprah and Gail and all.
We're not going to talk about Oprah and Gail right now.
Okay, so we're going on to the next section.
Yeah.